Well, I am thankful that you were all able to make it here today. My name's Reed Price. I'm the director of the Senior Community Center, and these are some of our members. And I'm excited to learn from you about the effort to bring BI Ride into a new level of technology with Pingo. So I'd like you to introduce yourselves, and then we'll start to describe what's going on with Kitsap Transit in the city. You want to start, Leslie?
Sure. I'm Leslie Schneider, City Council member for Bainbridge Island, and also a proud member of the Kitsap Transit Board. And also, as a council member, I'm a liaison to the Sustainable Transportation Task Force, which is creating a sustainable transportation plan for Bainbridge Island.
And not only plan, but a little implementation, as we're going to hear here in a minute.
Cool. Thank you for having me. My name's James Cox. I'm the CEO of the Routing Company. The Routing Company is the developer of the Ride Pingo app that is working directly with Kitsap Transit. As background, I'm Australian. I originally launched Uber in Australia and then launched the Uber Pool product globally at Uber. That is the shared rides product. And so since then, I met some pretty smart kids from MIT who found a better way to do it. And we've built that technology that we are putting in the hands of transit.
Great. And that's what Pingo is.
That's exactly right.
Great.
Yeah.
John.
And I'm John Clauson. I'm the executive director of Kitsap Transit, and I'm the great recipient that gets to take advantage of Pingo in our operations.
Or the guinea pig, depending on your point of view.
Yeah, I suppose guinea pig, but
A willing participant.
a willing participant, absolutely.
And I'm Sanjay Bhatt. I'm the Marketing and Public Information Director at Kitsap Transit and Bainbridge Island resident.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. Thank you very much. So in a nutshell, the idea here is to add another way to book a ride or get a ride. And I'm imagining there are some advantages that go along with being able to use your smartphone to figure out what's going on with BI Ride. I don't know which of you wants to.
I can jump
Sure.
into that
Go
if
ahead.
you want. The biggest thing I think we're excited about on Bainbridge Island is allowing people to download an app called Ride Pingo that directly powers the Bainbridge Island Ride service and enables them to book it on demand through their smartphone. They still can book it by calling up the phone number that they might be used to if they want to. But if they do want to book it on demand, they can now use an app to do so. They can go point to point anywhere within the service area on the island. They can go to and from the ferry. The idea is to encourage people to leave their car at home more often than they might have in the past.
And John, are there some things you know about BI Ride users that make this an attractive tool that makes you think they might pick it up, or?
Well, I don't know that it's specific to Bainbridge Island, but certainly the ability to book your trip real time is a huge advancement over to what we have available today. Today, you need to call, schedule your trip in advance. We have time to try to cluster trips, so it's not as responsive as this app is going to provide.
So you mentioned that clustering trip, that was pretty much a manual process?
Pretty much, yeah. We have one person that was kind of dedicated back in the office that would kind of design the routes where this system is going to be much more responsive and certainly much easier for people to use, and they can do it real time. They don't have to be next to a phone somewhere, but they don't necessarily even have to be next to a bus stop. They can just.
So if somebody's if they're calling in, does that data now get entered into this?
That's right. So, which is actually its own problem, but the really interesting thing about what we're doing here is I can tell you, having spent a lot of time at Uber and having done this on billions of trips, the really hard problem when you want people to share a vehicle is as soon as you have, say, 5 vehicles and 10 ride requests, so you have 10 people that want to go from A to B, different A's, different B's, there's 34 quadrillion ways to organize those trips if you want to do it in a shared manner. And you have to pick the best one, otherwise you have a bunch of upset people, right? And so the way most companies solve that problem is they find the closest vehicle, right? Or they take shortcuts, right? The technology we use was developed over 5 years at MIT. And what it enables you to do is to search all the potential routes and create the most optimized driver schedule to pick up the rides in a shared manner. And so it'll end up with, instead of having 1 or 2 people on a vehicle or 3 sometimes, you can end up with 10 to 15 people on a vehicle at once. And so you really are minimizing the number of vehicle miles traveled for the number of requests, which I think is pretty important in a place like Bainbridge Island.
Well, it improves responsiveness or speed as well as maybe use of fuel.
That's right. So that's what we're launching. And then back to your point about the being able to call up. So we've also, it would be pretty normal for a company like us, a technology company, to just launch an app and forget about the people calling up, but we didn't take that approach. We've enabled anyone who does still want to use their phone to call up. They'll call into, Mike at Kitsap Transit. They'll enter that request into the system and it'll get routed in the same way that the on-demand rides do. Pre-booked requests will be given some priority because, when you pre-book a request, you typically, you want to make sure it's there, but we'll see how that develops over time as well.
Well, speaking for the Senior Community Center, we're grateful that the phone option is still there because many of the people who are active here are not quite into the app world, although every month that changes. I know that the number of people who are starting to book programs on the Senior Center website for activities here has gone up in the 4 years that I've been here. Leslie, could you talk a little bit about what this means from the city point of view and how the city is supporting this?
Absolutely. So I hope all of us are aware that, the Bainbridge Island, the city of Bainbridge Island, the government has a climate change advisory committee. And that advisory committee has set goals for us to, reduce our carbon footprint. And so we can see how much of that carbon footprint is related to transportation. And that's one of the biggest areas where we can make a difference, right? The other one is, the biggest one is electrical, but we're kind of stuck with Puget Sound Energy for that. So there will be reductions in that over time because the state has mandated it. But for transportation, we need to be very active in order to.
And we can do something about transportation.
We can absolutely do something. So, starting in the budget that we finished in 2018, so starting in 2019, we had some budget for doing a sustainable transportation plan. COVID hit and it kind of slid things, but we have been active in this past year and we're getting now towards the end of it. So we've only got a couple more months before we will be completing this. And so we've been engaging a lot of different stakeholders. And so it includes walking, rolling, riding, and of course, transit. And that, there are going to be people who are not going to get on a bike. There are going to be people who can't walk very far. So transit has got to be a major piece of this puzzle. And by doing the ride hailing, ride sharing, making it convenient, and I think it's going to be important to make it social and fun. We'll see. That's not going to be the main reason why people do it, but it's going to be huge. I think it will really provide those layers of backup options that it takes for people to all of a sudden go, wait a minute, I don't need this extra car, or maybe I don't need a car at all. So anyway, I'm super excited about it. My partner and I went from 2 cars to 1 car when we moved to Winslow because we were doing a lot of walking. And it'll just be fascinating. And in my co-housing community, I happen to live in co-housing, there's a number of people there who don't own cars at all. And we have a lot of informal car sharing that goes along. So this is going to, increase options for all of us in my little community and for all of us on Bainbridge.
Yeah, and while Winslow has been more walkable than some parts, this service or enhancing BI Ride makes it so that you can, if you're a little further out, you can get to Winslow and then walk when you're here.
Right. and enjoy it and not have to worry about, finding a parking place, or fighting the traffic, on 305 if you happen to live off a day road, which I used to.
So I don't know, Sanjay, if you can talk a little bit about how you might be working at Kitsap Transit to let people know about this. I noticed we saw earlier that on the city council website, you're running a survey, for example.
Right. So we're conducting a survey right now of Bainbridge Island residents and workers to try to find out where do they spend most of their time when it comes to looking online, their news media source, how they get information so that we can put together a marketing plan that reaches people where they are to let them know about the service. We also are trying to find out through the survey how their travel patterns have shifted since COVID. Because we think it's really important for us to understand how many people are already walking, bicycling, and using transit, and how many folks are actually open to the idea of using an app. And we really also want to get across to folks that it is so easy as downloading the app and typing in where you want to go and pushing a button. I think as a user, someone who actually was involved in helping to test the app, I think one anxiety that some people might have is, well, how do I get a round trip? Because, it's not just about getting somewhere. You want to get home too. And so it's actually really easy to book a return trip in the app. If I could offer one pro tip to people who are watching this, and James will correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are, say, going to point B from point A and you want to schedule your round trip, you want to schedule your return trip first.
Correct.
And then request your ride now for your departure. So that's just one tip I'd have.
Yeah. And you can do that by setting the departure time in the future for the first trip, Sanjay. And then when you're ready for your trip now, you do now.
Right. And if you are part of a club that meets regularly at some place on the island, you can actually schedule recurring trips through the app, correct?
Wow.
And so there's that feature as well.
That's great. Yeah, we had somebody who came here for morning exercise Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and they would try to get BI Ride every time or Access Bus depending. That was a challenge for them to try to figure out how to do that. That sounds like a wonderful idea.
And to be clear as well, there are currently 4 vehicles, right? So if all 1,500 people requested it once, it will take a little longer.
Right.
But at the same point, the good thing about this technology is it will maximize the number of people in the vehicle at once, given the requests.
And the only other tip I'd offer is that a lot of people are finding out about BI Ride through this promotion work that we're doing, but they're also finding out that we at Kitsap Transit have another app for our routed bus service. It's called the Kitsap Transit Tracker. And so if you're using BI Ride to get somewhere on the island, you can use the Ride Pingo app. If you're trying to connect to go to Polsbo or beyond, you can use the app to bring you to the Bainbridge Island ferry terminal, and then you can track in real time our Route 390 that's coming down Route 305 and figure out when you need to connect to it at the ferry terminal to get to Polsbo or Silverdale or wherever. So the Kitsap Transit Tracker is another app that we have for our routed bus service, and you can use these apps in conjunction.
Sanjay, I had someone ask me a question, just an hour ago when we were at the event. She was saying that she doesn't have a car, right? And hasn't had one for a number of years. How can she get from Bainbridge Island to Trader Joe's? And I think you semi-answered that question, right? You could take BI Ride to get to the point of the bus that's going to get you over to Silverdale. Is there a stop at Trader Joe's?
I believe there is a stop along that
Mickleberry Road.
Mickleberry.
Yeah.
There's a stop there.
That could be a fun story to tell, because I think there's a lot of us who, occasionally need to get to Trader Joe's or Costco or whatever.
Yes.
I would add to this discussion though, we also, sometimes it gets a little daunting when you're trying to figure out how do I get from here to Silverdale or Trader Joe's. We have travel trainers in our operation, and give us a call. We will schedule a travel trainer to come out and ride with you and show you So it reduces that apprehension.
Oh, wow.
We teach you how to use the system in real time. So-
And then you can do it again.
Yeah, then you know how it works, you know where the nuances are, you know where the connections are, that sort of thing, so.
And do you want to add anything about our access service?
Well, that too, for the disabled community, we have access service. It's kind of like,
And over 80.
yeah, it's kind of like the BI Ride, but countywide. It's not as responsive as the BI Ride app is going to be, but that's an option
Might
as
be in the
well.
future.
Could very well be, but right now, unless you call a day in advance, that's
right.
not terribly
No, I
convenient
agree.
compared to BI Ride where
Yeah.
it's now.
Yeah, that's true. And depending on your mobility, you might find, especially with a tool like this, that BI Ride is something you can use.
Well, it's interesting. I had a lady that at our event that came up, and after the little speeches we gave, she said, why didn't you tell people that BI Ride is accessible? Whereas Ubers and taxi cabs are not necessarily 100% accessible. She was a wheelchair user. So, that's a very important point that I had to admit, I didn't think about it, but I won't forget it. So,
Great. Yeah, and the event you're talking about, you had a little kickoff at Town and Country parking lot just a little bit ago, and that's where you came from to come by the senior center. Thank you very much. We have a question from Mark and Candace. They say they had problems creating an account. After entering the data, the app froze for them and wouldn't go further without hitting the arrow return button to create an account. They were using an iPhone 12 and an iPhone 7. I don't know that I'm going to get you to troubleshoot that one right now on
I
fly.
can quickly talk to it. Make sure you put in your first name, last name, email address, password into each of the fields, and then click the next button. If they they said they had an iPhone 12, so that should be fine. But if people do have older devices, that can be a problem if they're very old.
Is a 7 old?
There's no password slot on here. It's name, first name, last name, email, and then your phone number. And
Password should be above phone number. There should be a space there if you click it, and okay. Maybe so my email is james@theroutingcompany.com. If you can take a screenshot of the problem and send it to me, I will get the team to look into it.
So, and if I have questions and I'm watching this video later, what do I do?
So I would email me.
that or give us a call,
Yeah.
one of the two.
Yeah.
Either way, you're going to get to somebody that's going to address the
Exactly.
problem. And I think, you raise a very good point that I would like to make. And in fact, this system is new. This is the first in the United States for this app. And it's, best way to describe it, it's a work in progress. This is a demonstration project that we're doing with the routing company.
Right.
So it's not going to be 100%. We're going to learn by people's experiences if they share those with us.
Yep.
And with each of those that they share, I
It
know
will
the
get
routing
better.
company is going to be very quick to respond to, and you collectively, we're all going to make this app better for all of us. So
So we get the benefit of being the first ones and we get to help out, and probably the app will be better because of our participation.
absolutely.
The app will get better every 2 weeks.
And I think the nice part about it is not only do we get the benefit of the first ones, but we also get the benefit of contributing to how we would like to see this app work.
That's right.
Another question that I got, and I thought I heard the answer, that yes, you could use your Orca card, but I don't see how to do that under payment. I've already put in a credit card, so I have the options of paying by credit card or paying in vehicle, which I think is really cool, right? Like, this doesn't stop you from paying just when you get on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Orca card, so if you want to use your Orca card, click in-vehicle payment and then scan the Orca card.
You get-
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
We are, for what it's worth, we're doing some things with the Orca card in future that'll make that a bit more obvious, but for now, just do that.
And I would just to piggyback on that, we do offer reduced fare on BI Ride, but because we're offering free rides in the month of July, did I say free? We haven't worried so much right now about adding the information on our website about the reduced fare, but trust me, it will be up there soon. And what I'm hearing from the operations side is that we will be having some kind of promo code that you can put in the app to get the reduced fare, but I think those details still need to be hashed out.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that.
And then, of course, if your Orca card already has your discount in it, then that
Right,
works
exactly.
as well.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions from those of you who are watching?
Actually, we did have another question. I was curious about whether it would ever extend to night coverage or weekend, because a lot of times we come back from, like, well, if we take a trip, we take the train down to the ferry, and then we take the ferry over, and we get to the Bainbridge terminal, and it's 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night. And if we haven't pre-arranged for a taxi, we can't get home, basically, especially on the weekends and stuff. So I was wondering if at some point, will there ever be any availability of this ride for situations like that? Too, I know my son wanted to take a job, and he doesn't have a car, and it was a weekend job, and there was really no bus service. So,
Not the
what
first
is
time you've heard that, probably.
No, it's not. And I'm excited to be able to answer that question is yes. Just don't
Okay.
ask me when. No, seriously, we're working on expanding our service. Obviously, COVID had really put brakes on everything that we were in the midst of. But we were working towards operating service later and earlier, more frequently. And I just, thanks to Leslie and the cohorts on the board, approved us moving forward. We're going to be introducing Sunday service soon.
Oh,
We're bringing
excellent.
back Sunday. So it will
And
be
on
coming
Bainbridge
to,
Island.
yes, on Bainbridge Island. So
Yay!
it will be coming. I just can't tell you exactly when right now. It requires us to hire, to give you rough numbers, around 50 bus operators, and we're having a real challenge right now in hiring bus operators. So if you guys are,
If you're carrying around a CDL, I'll give you a call.
yeah, well, I mean, we'll even
Well, we'll
teach
train
you.
you. No, seriously, we do.
Yeah, wow, we'll train you and get your CDL, so.
All right, so just to reiterate, I'm looking on my app for Ride Pingo, is that right?
Correct. RIDEPINGO.
Pingo. Okay, we got it. Thank you very much for coming by. We
Thank
really
you,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks so